Hi everyone, greetings from Leader Associates. This is Zoe, the project producer of today's webinar and will be today's host. It gives me great honor to welcome you all gathered here and join this webinar. Today's virtual webinars will be also live broadcasted by YouTube and our Medium partner channels. Before we get started, please allow me some time to cover a few housekeeping items in short. Firstly, who we are. Leader Associates is a global leading event organizer concentrating on renewable energies. In the past few years, we have hosted events across Asia Pacific, South America, Africa, and Europe. Secondly, please kindly find today's brief agenda on the slides. The webinar mainly focuses on the solar rooftop and energy storage in market in Japan, and there will be two keynote speakers to share their opinions and experience. At last, all audience are welcome to raise questions to the speakers. You can find that there is a Q&A box on the control panel. We will select one or two questions from the audience for speaker to answer after their presentations. Much appreciated your attention and patience. That's all for the guidance, and now we will begin today's webinars. So with the support of 𝗦𝗫𝗃 and the net zero emissions targets, growing members of companies and residentials in Japan prefer to select utility scales and small scales rooftop to realize 100% clean energies. And energy storage is a critical part to achieve that goals, since it can solve the issues of power transmission efficiency, as well as to be used in a blackout situations caused by the electricity instabilities. And now, please allow me to introduce our first speakers, Mr. 𝗦𝗫𝗃𝗿𝗄 from the Council from Baker McKenzie. Masa is a member of the project group in Baker McKenzie's Turkey office. He has over 15 years of legal experience in Japan and overseas. Masa's practice focuses on matters relating to power, gas, and renewable energies. He regularly assists clients in electricity retail work, offshore wind projects, mega solar projects, project acquisitions, and others. He advised on one of the first online corporate PPAs in Japan and acted for the first foreign electricity retailer to operate in electricity retail license in Japan. So, hi, Masa-san. Hi.
Hello.
Hi. Thank you for joining us today. And now you can start to share your slides now.
Okay, thank you, Zoe. Let me do that.
Thank you.
Hope you can see my slides now.
Yes, I can see it.
Okay, great. Okay, thank you. Hello, everyone. My name is Masa Tanabe. I'm a counsel in the Tokyo office of Baker McKenzie. In today's session, I would like to talk about the Japanese market in relation to rooftop solar and energy storage. Things are happening in Japan at the moment. Especially in the past few years, we've seen drastic changes in this sector. So in the next 20 or so minutes, we'll run through the past, the present, and the future of rooftop solar and energy storage in Japan. So first, the past. What was it like in Japan in the previous years? Well, there weren't much happening, actually. Historically, Japan had very few rooftop solar and energy storage. We did have rooftop solar, thanks to the generous feed-in tariff program, but it wasn't combined with energy storage. And this was due to various reasons, but the first reason is the high feed-in tariff price. It started in 2009 for residential rooftop solar, and it was 48 Japanese yen. So the residential users would just sell the electricity through this feed-in tariff price and nothing else. The second point was the battery costs were pretty high still in Japan. And the third point was there weren't many ways to utilize these energy storage systems, even if you did purchase them together with rooftop solar. So there wasn't much happening on this area until a few years ago. But it's really changing now. And what's happening now in Japan? Various changes are occurring in Japan, and let's look at the 4 examples here. The one is the growing demand for clean energy. There's a number of Japanese companies that have signed up for the RE100 program. The latest number was over 50 Japanese companies. So there's a lot of demand from the buyer side. Second thing is that in 2019, the first wave of feed-in tariff rooftop solar, the residential sector, ended. And a bunch of residential rooftop solar came off of the feed-in tariff program into the market. So that counted. We'll take a look at this post feed-in tariff rooftop solar issue in the next slide, actually. The third point is the capacity market opened in 2020. And this capacity market will be available to solar projects and energy storage. The fourth point is that we're seeing new business models emerging in the market. And we'll look at those new models in the coming slides. So first, a few slides on the post feed-in tariff rooftop solar. So why is this important? Post feed-in tariff rooftop solar ending in 2019. Well, it's important because of the volume and the impact on the users. The volume meaning that there, in 2019, there were over 500,000 users that came off the feed-in tariff program and needed to find somebody to sell their electricity. It's 500,000 users in 2019. In 2021, it's expected that there will be over 1 million users that will come off of the feed-in tariff program. And the impact is that the feed-in tariff price that they enjoyed was around 48 yen when it started. But now the retailers are offering to purchase these rooftop solar electricity at around 8 or 9 yen, depending on the retailer. So there's a substantial drop in the price that these rooftop solar owners can sell their electricity. So that meant these 1 million users had to decide whether they're going to continue to sell their electricity to these retailers, or they switch to self-consumption. And the key factor in making this decision was the electricity price that was available for household users. And in Japan, it's around 23, 24 yen per kilowatt. So many of these users decided to go to self-consumption, which led to a boost of sales in Japan, especially lithium-ion batteries, which were used for residential energy storage. So as you can see in the graph here, there is a big boost in the sales of energy storage in Japan, in terms of both numbers and capacity. And it's expected to go higher and higher. The next important development in this area is the new business models that I was talking about a few slides ago. And these new types of business models are being implemented in all of the public sectors, commercial sector, and industrial sectors. In the public sector, one typical type is installing rooftop solar and energy storage system in public schools. And then when a natural disaster happens, which in Japan does happen, these public schools would be a base for people, and these public schools would offer emergency power to the local people. So that's how some of the local governments are intending to use the public schools and the rooftop solar and the energy storage in those schools. In the commercial sector, for example, the shopping malls have been using on-site PPAs for a few years now. We'll look at those in the next slide. And in the industrial sector, there are factories that have been using a system called self-wheeling, 𝗪𝗏𝗄𝗃. This might be unique to Japan, so we'll talk a little bit about it in the next slide. First, this is the on-site PPAs, which is being used for commercial facilities such as shopping malls. And there are Japanese popular shopping malls that are putting their solar panels on their rooftop and using them as power source for their electricity consumption. And this is good in Japan because for these on-site PPAs, you don't need electricity retail license. Japan's Electricity Business Act has strict rules on retail license. And if you want to do corporate PPAs, usually you would require a licensed retailer to be engaged in a corporate PPA. But the exception is these on-site PPAs. So that's why on-site PPAs became popular structure for commercial facilities that have large space to put their solar panels. Oh, okay. In the industrial sector, there's a system or a Japanese concept called self-wheeling that is being used in factories and warehouses and logistics centers. And what this does is it allows a consumer to self-wheel the electricity through an existing grid. What happens in practice is usually a developer would construct the solar panels and the projects on top of the consumers' factories or warehouses or logistics centers, and they would usually sell the facility to the consumer or lease the facility to the consumers. And the consumer or its related entity would contract with the grid operator and use the grid to wheel or transmit the electricity to another consumption site of the consumer itself. And this is allowed under the Japanese laws and regulations. And it's especially set out in the wheeling terms and conditions issued by the grid operators. In this situation, the good point is that, again, you don't need a licensed retailer to be engaged in this structure. Consumers can do it themselves. The downside may be that the consumer will need to directly contract with a grid operator and take on imbalance risks. And so that's where typically, the energy storage system or batteries come into place. So you might or might not have batteries, but in many cases, batteries do come into play here, which will help the consumer control its amount of electricity being transmitted through the grid. Okay. So these are what's happening now in the market, but now what is going to happen in a very near future in Japan? Well, there are some changes that we're expecting, various changes. And these are some, I picked out 3 things that might happen very soon. One is electric vehicles. The Japanese government is reported to have decided to increase the percentage of electric vehicles in the market by 2030. And the Tokyo metropolitan government has also announced its plans on switching to electric vehicles. So this will be interesting, the interplay between the electric vehicles and the fixed type energy storage systems. Number 2 is the ancillary market, or the balancing market, will open in April 2021. Well, yeah, I guess today. And battery storage system, energy storage systems are eligible to participate in this ancillary market. So we'll see how energy storage systems will play in this new market. Number 3 is the proposed virtual power plant aggregator license program that will likely start in 2022. So let's look at this aggregator license in a little more detail in the next slide. So this is VPP aggregator license. Well, in Japan, we call it an aggregator license. This aggregator license is expected to be introduced in 2022 when the Electricity Business Act will be amended, together with other aspects. So what is it? Well, the Japanese government expects that there will be numerous renewable energy projects out there. Most of them may be small projects. Energy storage systems will be around in Japan, and there will be a consumer side resource for demand and response systems out there. And on the other side, there are now various markets that are available for electricity, including the wholesale market, ancillary market, capacity market, and the non-fossil certificate market, which is the environmental attribute certificates. This will be very, it used to be only the wholesale market, but now we have 4 types of markets. It's becoming more sophisticated. So what the Japanese government is expecting is that there will be this new business called aggregators that will come in the middle and aggregate or combine all the renewable energy storage, consumer side resource, combine them, aggregate them, and utilize the electricity through the use of these multiple markets that are available. In Japan, there are pilot programs underway for this aggregator business. And some Japanese companies have raised their hands to start this aggregator business, but none have operational experience. So it's expected that foreign companies do come and enter the market and be a part of this aggregator business. So, right. So there are various changes happening in Japan. Changes are happening very rapidly. So please, keep a close eye on the developments in this area. We, as a law firm, do wish to keep everybody posted on these changes by issuing newsletters and posting on SNS. So please watch out for these our newsletters and posts, and please do stay connected, and look forward to working with many of you in this sector. So thank you, and back to you, Zoe.
Hi. Right, thank you for your presentations and to introduce us the challenges, also recent developments and future possibilities about energy storage in Japan regions. And we do have received some questions from our site. Can I share my screens to show what kind of questions we have collected?
Sure, please.
Okay.
I'll stop sharing.
Right. And can you see my questions from the slides, the Q&A sessions?
Yes.
Yes. Right. So these are the questions we have collected from our attendees, and maybe you can select one or two questions to answer them if you like.
Sure. Okay, maybe the fourth one. Let's start with the fourth one. It's asking about licensing permitting requirements for commercial operation of these types of technologies. What are the factors? What are the responses? Okay, I assume that this is about rooftop solar. And yes, there are various licensing permitting requirements under Japanese law. There are various notification requirements. And as a law firm, we have been assisting clients who are looking to start this rooftop business. And we have been offering due diligence, legal due diligence on these types of business. Yes, there are a bunch of licensing. For example, the business like construction, the building safety requirements, also requirements from a landscape perspective. So yes, it's recommended to do a legal due diligence before starting. Factors, right, the requirements depend on the capacity or the location. Prefectures have their own rules. What else? Yeah, so there are various factors that will affect it. And what are the responses? Yeah, please do a legal DD. Maybe, okay, number one. This also relates to number 4. So yes, there are local regulations. Sometimes the residents have, well, the local government does have its own rules on top of the national rules. So you do need to check for the local rules, right? And yes, the local governments do implement, sometimes implement new rules like new notifications, or there's restrictions on certain areas of the local, like in the residential area, there might be some restrictions. So yes, you need to look at those as well. So I have maybe 2 minutes. Number 2, energy storage for VPP applications. Yes, so I guess this relates to the VPP aggregator license. Energy storage is eligible. So it's expected that the aggregator will include energy storage systems in its portfolio, together with solar and other renewable energy. Number 3, renewable energy charge on energy storage. Well, renewable energy charge, I think this might be the charge that that the consumers will need to pay. This is basically when consumers pay its electricity bills, you need to pay an extra amount of money for the renewable energy promotion charge in Japan. So if you're going to use the grid, then it does apply. If you're not going to use the grid, if it's on site, or if it's behind the meter, then there will be no renewable energy promotion charge. So with that, I think covered all 4.
Yes, thank you. Thank you for your questions and also the presentations. Thank you so much. I think we have received one more questions from our audience. Can you see that one?
Okay.
So in the Q&A
sure.
box.
Q&A box. Okay.
Yes.
Let me look at this very quickly. Is the system switches to backup mode to supply emergent power to critical load when power outage? Switch backup mode, emergency power. Oh, okay. I might need to discuss this, after the session, but I think this question relates to backup emergency power in case the energy system fails. The retailers does have this backup emergency power, and you would usually contract with the grid operator when you do connect your energy storage system with the grid. I'm not sure if this answers the applicant's, the attendees' question. So if necessary, I'd be happy to follow up.
Okay, thank you. And well, so the audience, you can still raise your questions to Masa-san if you have any, and maybe you can send him the email, and he will answer you after these webinars. So thank you, Masa. Thank you for your time and the presentations. Thank you. Right. And so now let's welcome our second speakers, Mr. 𝗦𝗫𝗿𝗆 from 𝗵𝗴𝗆𝗔𝗣𝗿. He is the global head of business development and partnership. He based in Paris, and 𝗦𝗫𝗿 leads 𝗵𝗴𝗆𝗔𝗣𝗿's business and sales teams. He has over 20 years of global experience in traditional and renewable new energy technologies and markets. 𝗦𝗫𝗿 is a thought leader and an energy sector specialist with strategy, policy, commercial, and business development experience across the supply chain, and a focus on orderly decarbonizations and transformations of energy markets through an integration of distributed energy resources and new technologies, or to positively impact the Paris climate goals. Hi, Mr. 𝗦𝗫𝗿.
Good afternoon. How are you doing? Yes.
I'm good, thank you. And thank you for your time, and thank you for joining us. And you can start sharing your screens and begin your presentations now.
Sure. Firstly, good afternoon, good day to all your attendees, and thank you very much for inviting me for this presentation at Solar APAC digital webinar. So always great to be able to sort of do these events and share our journey, our ideas, and our thoughts with the attendees. So I'll start sharing my screen, and let me just pick up. Okay, can you all see my screen?
Yes, I can see it. Yes.
Okay, all right, excellent. So I will commence my presentation. It's almost kind of leading on to from where Masahiro-san left, and he was very specifically focused on clear specifics around Japanese market, which I will be covering as well. But I will kind of expand the scope to give you an overall international perspective as well as to how solar and energy storage together are enabling what they are doing to the grid, and how they could actually support scaling up of renewables on the grid. So it's not only about the financial benefits for prosumers and consumers, but also for adding the resiliency to the grid itself. So I'll start with this traditional energy system, which has been changing rapidly. And you don't have to be an energy professional to know that the centralized energy system, where large power stations supplied energy to consumers through transmission distribution network, is changing. We have distributed energy resources all around us: rooftop solar, batteries, now electric vehicles are coming. And of course, there is a combination of large variable renewable energy on the grid as well, large solar farms or mini solar farms, or wind energy or other types of renewable as well. So the grid doesn't necessarily look like what it used to in the past, which is what has served the energy markets for close to 100 years. It is starting to resemble, depending on where you are in which geography, it's starting to resemble more like virtual microgrids, or where we are here in Australia. Close to 30% residential sites already have rooftop solar. So what that means is almost 1/3 of Australian households are mini power station. Not only they're using all the energy themselves, the energy that they generate themselves, but also at various time intervals, a lot of energy is exported back to the grid. So the grid's not the linear grid anymore as it used to be. The energy is flowing in multi-direction. If you look at specific to Japan, you're seeing a massive increase in the growth of rooftop solar. So pretty clear here that from 524 gigawatt of solar generation capacity, by 2045, that is what is expected. And you can see the trends as how rapidly year after year, so sort of business as usual scenario versus what is forecast as well, actual versus the forecast in the coming years. So there is, then you can see the annual PV installed capacity is growing and growing really, really fast. And also the trends on the battery storage, because the prices of energy storage has come down. You can see they are starting to increase and increase rapidly. So in 2018-19, the installation of storage was fairly low, but you can see the trend for 2020 onwards has been fairly rapid increase, almost exponential in the years to come. So we're also seeing that because of the lot of variable renewable energy on the grid, what's also happening that so firstly, the prices are coming down because solar is the cheapest form of energy to supply you from your own rooftop solar. So consumers are getting benefited. There is more green energy, so you're decarbonizing the system. But because of a lot of loads being self-served by the generation on site itself, you can see the load duration curve is dropping. What is also termed in electricity terminology is as the duck curve. So duck curve is deepening. So during between 6 a.m. and almost 6 p.m. when sun shining, and this is from 𝗘𝗀𝗴𝗆 area, that on May 3rd, 2018, about 81% of the demand was met by renewable generation itself. What that means is, and this is happening in all those markets where there is high level of renewable penetration, primarily solar and rooftop solar. Countries like Australia, in parts of United States, in states of California, for example, Germany, we are starting to see the deepening of duck curve, and that, whilst it is beneficial, well, the cheaper and cleaner energy is beneficial for, of course, consumers. The grid operators have a lot of issues to deal with, because typically the thermal inertia that is required for transportation of electricity on the grid comes from synchronous generation. And when the duck curve deepens, synchronous generations pretty much don't have a business case to survive. So they will exit the system, which will start to pose system security issues. And also there will be instances when there is a lot of energy exported back to the grid from people's rooftop solar. So that causes reverse flows of energy. Again, that causes issues with transformers needing augmentation of the grid infrastructure. So it starts to make system more expensive, or issues to deal with pretty much for the grid operator. So in all of these transition and the changes that are going on the grid, Masahiro-san also highlighted the fact of that these changes are very rapidly visible in Japanese market. What 𝗏 is doing is developing this market-making technology that bridges gaps in the system to make it more fluid and responsive. And the way we do it is by we use blockchain as the core technology to spin off marketplaces for energy and grid flexibility services trading, and also environmental commodities trading. So within this, we have a whole range of features and solutions. We enable excess energy to be traded between participants, so peer-to-peer energy trade, for the almost creating localized energy market. So the supply and demand can be met within the local energy market, where the excess can be managed in the energy community, in the neighborhood, within the same street, downstream to a feeder, downstream to sometimes a transformer, so that the reverse flows are reduced. We also create whole range of solutions around virtual power plants that was also mentioned in the previous presentation, and even expand the concept of virtual power plant to offer resiliency services back to the grid by utilizing energy storage, rooftop solar, demand side response, and even bringing in electric vehicles, which are the mobile batteries from electric vehicles, to offer an ecosystem which almost becomes a marketplace for distributed energy, to support distribution systems operators for dealing with voltage imbalances or issues related with reactive power management or even peak demand, and even aggregate that capacity from distributed batteries to offer transmission systems, grid balancing services, services like frequency control, ancillary services, etc. as well. Within the energy trading concept, and I will come to it in more detail further in my presentation, because people who have rooftop solar can also create, be part of new ways to help support other businesses as well who have sustainability targets. So many companies these days have 100% renewable energy type of objectives, or they have signed up for a pathway to be carbon free or decarbonize their footprint. They would be needing renewable energy, and one of the ways to procure that renewable energy could be from people's rooftop solar through a brand engagement process. We call it as loyalty peer-to-peer. So what I'm doing is almost kind of expanding from where the previous presentation stopped, which was more about how do you deal within the existing framework, but almost kind of opening up and expanding that framework to include more sort of proactive and use of excess energy from people's rooftop solar through localized energy market, through enabling loyalty peer-to-peer, creating virtual power plants by combining rooftop solar with energy storage and other demand-side response type of solutions. And at the same time, of course, the renewable energy also has the value through environmental commodity. So it is not just kilowatt hours, but the megawatt hour that is generated from renewable sources also equate to renewable energy certificates. So 1 megawatt hour is 1 certificate, REC, which is tradable commodity and has its own value. So making it easier for buying and selling of those renewable energy certificates as well in a marketplace, which we call TraceX. So a whole range of solutions, and there's of course tracking of energy as well. So tracking of PPAs, on-site PPAs, off-site PPAs. So we call them solutions as vision and PPA vision. And enabling it through blockchain, we can provide a self-audit trail. So there is a verification, validation process involved as well, which makes it a lot more easier, where the provenance of energy can be tracked and be made visible on blockchain. So that's the range of solutions that we offer, and all of those are, given this topic of where do we go and what's next with solar PV and battery storage. Well, that's the whole range of suite of solutions that we create and are already helpful in Japanese markets. We are engaged in that market already, but as this market further expands and opens up into ancillary services, virtual power plants, and more PPAs and alternative mechanisms for PPAs, these solutions will be a lot more beneficial. So our platform approach is designed to be scalable. All these solutions that I talked about, you don't have to sign up for all of them. You can use whatever suits your requirement. It also offers dynamic peer-to-peer energy trading, where in a trading environment, prosumers and consumers can trade their excess energy in an environment where the price can be set almost for every time interval. And the advantage for that is when there is excess energy, if it is used instantly, then that's best for the grid. So potentially it provides a signal to the grid operators to also make the network access fee cheaper at the time when there is excess energy, so that that energy can be used up quickly within the localized energy community. So the grid doesn't have to deal with reverse flows, and therefore they can defer any grid augmentation that is required. So again, sort of providing a bit more international perspective is that initially a lot of, including in Japan, the incentive for rooftop solar came through feed-in tariffs. But going forward, we start to see that even in Japan from 2019, the first tranche of feed-in tariff customers have already graduated from feed-in tariff. So they're looking at alternative mechanisms for how to monetize their excess energy. And around the world, this trend is emerging. The bulk of subsidy programs are almost starting to finish. And there is a shift towards market-based mechanism. And that's where solutions like blockchain-enabled energy trading, localized energy markets, or market that are responsive to prosumer-consumer supply and demand of excess energy are more and more required. So vision, if you add the feature of where the energy is generated, who is using it, it starts to become a very beneficial solution. I mentioned that there are businesses who are interested in buying guaranteed green energy. And when they say guaranteed, they probably also want a provenance or a verification mechanism that it is actually guaranteed green energy. So through vision application, we actually enable in ensuring that you log on to the platform and you can see that the energy that is being supplied actually is coming from the committed power plant that has agreed to supply that energy. If you have excess energy, you can participate in peer-to-peer energy trading environments. And when we say peer-to-peer, it doesn't necessarily mean that you directly sell that excess energy to to your neighbor. Again, was highlighted in the previous presentation that quite often you have to go through licensed energy retailers. So that peer-to-peer trading could be enabled or anchored by your energy retailer. And the transaction could be prosumer to retailer to consumer. You would still be trading with other consumer, but anchored by or traded through the electricity system where the licensee is an application host and enabling those trades. Only yesterday in Australia, we launched first of its kind loyalty peer-to-peer project, but it can easily be done in Japan or in any other market as well. In this project, one of the largest breweries, a beer company in Australia, is procuring excess energy from rooftop solar of hundreds of their customers, and they are paying them in beer credits. So it's a loyalty program, which is sort of creating the brand engagement as well, that consumer gets the satisfaction of actually supplying their excess energy to the brand that they want to support, whereas the brand owner obviously creates that proactive engagement with its customer base as well. They can buy at the prices higher than the energy market prices because they may have some margins built into the goods that they will be supplying to their consumers as well. These types of solutions also enable gifting and donating of excess energy as well. I think Masahiro-san also mentioned self-wheeling. So that could be there may be multiple sites of a particular store. They may have rooftop solar on one with a lot of excess energy. They can potentially offset their consumption from other sites as well. So all these transactions could be easily verified, transacted through blockchain platform. So we already have been rolling out these solutions across various markets, including some interactions in Japan as well. And then, of course, if it is behind the meter, it could be retirement village or could be apartment complexes, where these our platform solutions enable equitable allocation of energy from maybe a jointly owned asset. And if you're not using your share, you can monetize it by selling it to other participants. So you can see how multiple new solutions can be unraveled and made available through rooftop solar. And if you start adding energy storage, which is the other part of the discussion here, you start to create opportunities for supporting the grid itself. Unlock additional revenue. And in the context of Japan, you obviously are more empowered then with solar and battery under your control, so your reliance on grid will be very low. But not only you're helping your own business or your own energy requirement, could be residential or business, but together these aggregated distributed batteries could participate and provide various other services, and these other services could be enabling virtual power plant for management of either frequency control ancillary services or energy arbitrage, where simply if the energy market prices are high, you can sell back in the market, or supporting the grid through voltage or reactive power management, which is what's kind of this shown in this picture, that on the grid you need various flexibility services, and these in the contingency market for managing the frequency control, some are required very, very quickly within the first 5 seconds. And typically these are to deal with inertia, contingency or regulation inertia, or some services which can be planned, where grid gets a distribution network gets a view through their advanced distribution management system, etc., as to what the congestion might look like on the grid. So to dealing with the congestion, which could cause issues around voltage and reactive power management, etc., grids can plan to secure some of those flexibility services. And what 𝗵𝗴 offers through marketplace for optimization of distributed energy, whole ecosystem where participants with rooftop solar, with battery, even electric vehicles, or demand side response, where they may have appliances that could be remotely turned off or on to deal with grid requirement, can offer these services back to the grid. And they can be paid for these services. And as Masahiro-san mentioned, that Japan is heading towards that virtual power plant enablement from next year. And it'll be, there are already a lot of pilots being done in Japan and also in many other parts of the world. Australia has been doing this. This is highly prevalent in European Union, in Europe in general, and also in the United States. US has also passed FERC 2222 order, which is enabling similar distributed energy resources to participate in their wholesale energy service, energy market as well from next year. So the trend is starting to emerge around the world. This is just a statement from Australian Electricity Market Commission that they also see that another big leap forward in the use of solar rooftop PV combined with battery storage will be development of community microgrids together with peer-to-peer trading, which is the sort of flavor I was providing you with my presentation thus far. And in the next 6-7 minutes, I just want to take you through some of the real projects that we've been doing and how this is being achieved in various parts of the world, including in Japan as well. I mentioned we use blockchain as the core technology, and the reason we use blockchain in these solutions is it enables faster settlement. Some of these these are kind of micro transactions done in 15-minute, 5-minute, 30-minute interval. So blockchain enables faster settlement. It has provisions around smart contracting, can even enable cross-retailer trading as well, and hence provides this visibility or audit trail. Whole range of other solutions, and we will be sharing this, of course, this presentation with all of you. So you'll get in the details as well. I won't get into each of these points, but suffice to say, it provides proof of provenance, source of truth, and ability to optimize solutions through smart contracting. One of the key projects that I like to mention in this, which demonstrates how in the emerging new market the world will look like, and we almost demonstrated here in the project in Fremantle, which was supported by Australian government, government-funded project. There were many participants or partners in that project that are listed down here, including Australian Electricity Market Operator, City of Fremantle, and a local distributor, etc. We had multiple houses which were trading excess energy, rooftop solar energy with each other. And then we overlaid the role of virtual power plant batteries, simulated what the battery would look like, and together with rooftop solar, peer-to-peer energy trading, localized energy market with virtual power plant, and expanding that to include community battery, 670 kilowatt-hour community battery. And the net result was, of course, at the participant level, it was very popular. Community members were willing to alter their energy habits when the energy was available cheaper during daytime, when it was produced by their other neighbors. So local green energy was valued more by participants. And it created an opportunity for using the excess energy within the system, which normally would have just gone back to the grid. So that almost created a blueprint of how these localized energy markets together with virtual power plant could enable the scaling up of renewables on the grid. We've done these types of demonstration of pilot in Japan as well, including in Osaka with the Kansai Electric Power Company, where we aggregated rooftop solar in simulated environment to provide a view as to what peer-to-peer energy trading would look like, or what aggregated excess energy, how it could be dealt with, creating renewable energy certificates for RE100 companies, and also for enabling loyalty peer-to-peer that I mentioned. We're doing something similar program where excess energy from post-FIT customers could be aggregated and utilized for supply to other sites which value buying renewable instantly at the same time when the excess is being produced. Then around the world, we've been doing these pilot projects from Thailand to United States, some of these to deal with peer-to-peer energy trading, some showing how EVs could be charged when there is excess energy on the grid, excess renewable energy in the grid. In California, there are specific incentives for that through low carbon fuel standards credits program. In other markets, there is peer-to-peer energy trading is being looked at as a market-based incentive to install more rooftop solar, because instead of feed-in tariff, there is more empowerment to the consumer as to how they want to deal with their excess energy. So that is almost used as a market incentive mechanism to accelerate deployment of more rooftop solar in their community. So multiple projects in Indian market. In France, they're looking at provenance of energy to enable creating something called choose your energy mix as a solution. So I mentioned vision solution or PPA vision solution. So this energy retailer in Equator in France, their customers using our platform will be able to choose where they want to buy renewable energy from, which location, and how what percentage of the energy. And again, whole range of solutions behind the meter. I'll probably not go into details of each of them, but finish by saying that using Power Ledger's peer-to-peer energy trading and VPP software solutions, renewables can be scaled up in an orderly way on the grid. Very quickly, what we are doing in all of this, as the new energy world is changing, we are creating digitally a market operating system for the new energy market. And we have this big vision to be a major contributor to transforming energy markets globally, and the Paris climate goals, and as well positively impacting 1 billion people. So with that, I will finish my presentation. I think I might have taken 28, 29 minutes. I might have just a couple of minutes to take any questions, or I'm happy to take those questions offline through email correspondence as well. But thank you very much for inviting me for this, having a chat with your audience.
No problem. Thank you. Thank you for your time, Vinod. Thank you. And so if you are not in hurry, maybe you can just answer one of the questions if you're not in hurry.
Yeah, sure. No problem.
Okay. Just one sec. Can you see my screen showing the Q&A page?
Yes, I can. Yeah.
Yes. You can select maybe one question.
Yeah, okay. I mean, the very first one is energy storage for VPP application. Yes, most relevant. And a lot of my presentation was sort of focused on VPP, because whilst investors might procure energy storage for getting more for their self-consumption, there are opportunities that can be unlocked using kind of software that companies like Power Ledger offer, VPP application type of software, where multiple households, their excess battery capacity can be aggregated and made available for transmission system services like frequency control ancillary services, or even for distribution network supporting grid flexibility services. So I think in the years to come, this will be one of the key ways as to how grid interacts with their customers by seeking flexibilities from these distributed energy resources like energy storage and rooftop solar, just to have a more orderly functioning of the grid. And what that will do to the asset owner, it will unlock additional revenue streams. So they will be able to make more money out of it, but also contribute to the resiliency of the energy system, so the energy system can function in a more orderly way.
Right. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for your answer, and thank you for your time as well.
My pleasure. So lovely to have got to have been able to speak to your community. And if there are any further questions, I'll be happy to take those questions through email, etc.
Yeah, sure. So the audience can send their questions to you by emails, and maybe, or they can also send questions to us, and we will forward to you as well.
Yes, sounds good.
Thank you. And so now it has come to the end of today's webinar. I would like to sincerely thank you for our amazing speakers and our audience. Thank you for your time and support. We hope today's webinars help you to have a better understanding for the energy storage and rooftop solar in Japan. We will send the attendees our speakers' slides and the recordings by emails. So if you would like to communicate more about the solar energies in Japan, I more welcome you all to join our upcoming event, the Solar Energy Future Japan 2021, which will be organized in Yokohama this June 17 and 18. The event will be focusing on the mega project energy storage 100% clean energies. Feel free to contact us for more details. So thank you again for your attendance, and see you next time.